1 year ago, the San Jose Sharks were the worst team in hockey. 20 wins, 52 points, a roster that looked years away from mattering. Then, Macklin Celebrini scored 45 goals, put up 115 points, broke Joe Thornton's franchise record, and nearly pushed San Jose into the playoffs at 19 years old. Now, the Sharks have added the 2nd, 9th, and 21st picks in the draft, plus Jacob Trouba, Darnell Nurse, and Mason Marchment. And they just signed Celebrini to a 5-year extension with an NHL record cap hit of $18.8 million per season. This rebuild was supposed to take years. Celebrini may have just destroyed that timeline. So how dangerous are the San Jose Sharks actually becoming? To understand why this matters, forget the prospect rankings for a second and just look at the standings. San Jose didn't improve by 5 or 10 points, it jumped by 34. From 20 wins to 39, from dead last in the entire league to playing games that actually meant something in the final week of the season. Now, let's be honest about the ceiling here. They still missed the playoffs for a 7th straight year. They finished 5th in the Pacific and were eliminated with 2 games to go. But that is exactly what makes this interesting. San Jose was bad enough to keep collecting premium talent and good enough to discover its window might already be creaking open. These two things almost never happen in the same season. The rebuild did not finish last year, but for the first time, it stopped looking theoretical. This is the center of the whole story, and it's not just about the raw numbers. Celebrini scored 45 goals and added 70 assists for 115 points in 82 games. He finished 4th in the entire NHL in scoring. He became just the 3rd teenager in league history to finish among the league's top 4 scorers after Wayne Gretzky and Sidney Crosby. And the player whose record he broke was Joe Thornton, the same Hall of Famer Celebrini was still living with. He was a Ted Lindsay Award finalist, and he was later named the IHF Male Player of the Year. San Jose was supposed to spend Celebrini's early seasons finding out whether he could become a franchise player. Instead, by the end of year 2, that question was already closed. He was not the best young player on a bad team. He was one of the most productive players in the sport, full stop. But there is a flip side, and it matters for everything that comes next. Celebrini's 115 points were more than San Jose's next 2 scorers combined. Will Smith had 59, Alexander Wennberg had 55, and Celebrini's 45 goals matched Smith and Colin Graff's totals put together. He proved the Sharks had their superstar. He also proved how far the rest of the roster still had to climb. This is where it stops being the Celebrini show. Look at the young players who've already reached the NHL. Will Smith climbed to 59 points. Igor Chernyshov put up 19 in just 28 games. Michael Misa is a central piece of the forward group. Yaroslav Askarov is set to be the long-term starter in net. Sam Dickinson is developing on the blue line. Then, add the 2026 draft class. Ivar Stenberg at number 2, Keaton Verhoef at 9, Ryan Lynn at 21. Stenberg is the name to watch. He put up 33 points in 43 games in Sweden's top professional league as an 18-year-old, added 8 points for Sweden at the Men's World Championship, and could push for an NHL role right away. Most rebuilds are built on the hope that one prospect turns into a star. San Jose already has the star. Now it gets to find out how many of the players arriving behind him can become the supporting cast. And then Mike Grier did something rebuilding general managers usually avoid. He started spending real assets and real money on players built to help right now. If you like hockey videos that explain how teams are actually being built, not just who they signed, subscribe. That is what Puck Talk TV is built for. For years, San Jose was in collection mode. Draft high, stockpile picks, trade veterans for futures. This offseason, the whole approach shifted from collecting talent to supporting it. Start with the defense. They signed Jacob Trouba to a 4-year deal, a defenseman who could play top pair minutes and put up 35 points last season. They traded for Darnell Nurse out of Edmonton, who led the Oilers with 167 block shots and threw 137 hits. Then they signed Mason Marchment for 5 years after a 45-point, 19-goal season, giving San Jose a big, skilled winger who can provide secondary scoring and potentially move around the top 6. Add Michael Kesselring for more depth on the blue line, while Eric Comrie competes with Alex Nedeljkovic for backup work behind Askarov. These are not the moves of a team that expects to finish last again. San Jose is trying to build an environment where Celebrini, Smith, Misa, and Stenberg do not have to develop inside another hopeless roster. But none of it was free. To get the 9th pick, San Jose traded William Eklund and prospects Kasper Halttunen and Brandon Svoboda to Ottawa. The Nurse deal cost them Shakir, Muhammad Aline, and defenseman prospect Zachary Sharp, and Mario Ferraro left in free agency. This was not veteran window dressing. Grier started trading pieces of the rebuild itself for a roster that can help right now. Here's why the rest of the league should care. Finding a true number one center is the single hardest thing to do in team building. Most franchises spend a decade looking. San Jose already found theirs, and it happened before the supporting cast even reached its prime. That leaves the Sharks with 3 timelines stacked on top of each other. Celebrini is already elite right now. Smith and the first wave of prospects are just entering their productive NHL years, and Stenberg, Verhoff, Lynn, and the rest are still on the way. The important part is what that combination allows. San Jose does not need every prospect to hit. If only 2 or 3 of them become high-end players, the Sharks get to surround an elite center with several real contributors, while much of the young core is still developing and under team control. That is the exact pattern that powered the best rebuilds of the last decade. The superstar shows up first, and the depth fills in behind him. The Sharks don't need 8 future stars. They might need only 2 more players to turn out better than expected. And San Jose just put a price and a deadline on that window. On July 29th, the Sharks signed Celebrini to a 5-year, $94 million extension beginning in 2027-28. Its $18.8 million cap hit is $800,000 higher than Leo Carlsson's, and at the time of signing was the largest average annual value in NHL history. Against the projected salary cap when the deal begins, it would eat up roughly 16.5% of San Jose's entire budget. But the term may matter even more. The Sharks could have offered 8 years this summer. Instead, the 2 sides settled on 5. That buys San Jose only 1 unrestricted free agent season and carries Celebrini through 2031-32, when he will be just 26. Mike Grier thanked Celebrini's camp for giving the Sharks flexibility to build around it. But the shorter term also creates pressure. Counting the final year of his entry-level deal, San Jose now has 6 seasons to turn this young core into a contender before Celebrini can choose his future again. Now, before anyone crowns them, here is everything working against San Jose, and it is a real list. They still could not defend. The Sharks allowed roughly 3.5 goals per game, near the bottom of the league, and they finished 3rd worst in average shot attempt differential. A great young offense doesn't matter much if the puck keeps ending up in your own net. They leaned almost entirely on one player. Celebrini outscored the next 2 guys combined. If he misses time or just has a normal cold stretch, San Jose doesn't yet have another player who can carry the offense. The new defense is experienced, but it's not young. Trouba is 32, Nurse is 31. They help immediately, but they are not long-term answers, and both come with real questions about their play at this stage of their careers. The prospects are still just prospects. Stenberg might make the team right away, or he might need another year in Sweden. Verhoff, Lynn, and Dickinson all still have to prove that their potential turns into NHL impact. And San Jose paid for all of this. Eklund was already a 53-point NHL forward. Muhammadulin and Ferraro were established pieces of the defense. The Sharks bought experience, but they spent youth to get it. The Sharks accelerated the rebuild. Accelerating a rebuild is not the same as finishing one. So where does it actually go? There are 3 realistic versions of the next couple of seasons. The low end, Celebrini stays brilliant, but the secondary scoring and the defense don't improve enough around him. San Jose becomes fun to watch, hangs near the playoff bubble, and never really threatens the conference. The realistic middle, Smith takes another step. One of Misa, Stenberg, or Chernyshov becomes a genuine top 6 producer. The veteran defense drags San Jose up to merely average in its own end. That combination is probably enough to make the playoffs. The high end, several young forwards hit at once. Askarov develops into a reliable starter, and the defense gives Celebrini enough of the puck to take games over. In that version, the Sharks are not sneaking into the playoffs. They are one of the hardest matchups in the Pacific. Even NHL.com's off-season review identified secondary scoring as the central need, highlighting Smith, Stenberg, and Misa among the players who have to provide more support around Celebrini. So here is where it lands. The San Jose Sharks are not a Stanley Cup contender yet. They gave up too many goals. They leaned too hard on one player, and several of the names around Celebrini are still projections, not proven stars. But the hardest part of this whole rebuild is already done. San Jose found the franchise center that every rebuilding team spends years chasing, and he turned elite far faster than anyone had a right to expect. Around him, they already have Smith, Misa, Stenberg, Chernyshov, Dickinson, Askarov, and another wave of first-round talent developing. And now they've started adding veterans meant to make this team good now, not someday. That is the Sharks' problem. They may not be ready yet, but their superstar showed up early, the pipeline behind him is still arriving, and this rebuild suddenly has a lot less time left on the clock than the rest of the NHL was counting on. So which player becomes San Jose's second true star? Will Smith, Michael Misa, Ivar Stenberg, or someone nobody's expecting yet? Drop it in the comments.